Paris, the dark streets of the 1700s. Religious authorities ruled through fear, and free thought was punishable by death. But in this world of fear, one man rose and declared, "To think is not a crime." This man's name, Voltaire. He was imprisoned for criticizing the church, exiled for his ideas, yet he never remained silent. His pen was sharper than a sword, and his words more powerful than kings. Today, if you can think freely, it's thanks to people like him. Let's explore the story of this genius, the symbol of free thought. Fact 1. Birth and family. Voltaire, whose real name was François-Marie Arouet, was born on November 21, 1694 in Paris. He came from a wealthy and influential family. His father, François Arouet, was a successful notary, while his mother, Marie Marguerite Domar, came from noble lineage. As a child, he studied at one of Paris's most prestigious schools, the Louis-le-Grand College, where he developed a love for literature as well as classical Latin and Greek culture. Even at a young age, François stood out for his sharp wit, sense of humor, and critical thinking. His mother was the most gentle and caring figure in his life, but Voltaire lost her when he was only 7 years old. This loss left a deep mark on him and later influenced his worldview, especially regarding religion and justice. His father, however, opposed his desire to become a writer and wanted him to pursue a career in law. But Voltaire had already fallen under the spell of literature and satire. From a young age, he began appearing in Parisian intellectual circles where he met aristocrats, connections that would later bring him fame, but also many challenges. Fact 2. Voltaire was not his real name. Voltaire's real name was François-Marie Arouet. He was born with this name and signed many of his early works with it. However, in 1718, at around 24 years old, he began using the pseudonym Voltaire. Interestingly, the origin of this name is still debated among historians. The most widely accepted theory is that Voltaire is a rearrangement of his family name, Arouet le Jeune, the young Arouet, in Latin form. Another interpretation suggests that Voltaire chose this name as a symbol of intellectual freedom. He was no longer just Arouet, he was the master of his own thoughts and voice. With the name Voltaire, he became not only a writer but also a symbol of free thought and critical reasoning. Fact 3. Candide, Voltaire's most famous work. Voltaire's most famous work, Candide, was written in 1759. The story follows a young man as he travels the world, witnessing the cruelty of life, war, and religious fanaticism. Through this work, Voltaire satirically criticizes the idea that everything is for the best. Although the novel appears simple and humorous, it carries deep philosophical meanings beneath its surface. Candide is considered one of the boldest satirical works of its time. This book established Voltaire as a symbol of free thought in Europe. Fact 4. Though critical of religion, he believed in God. Voltaire described himself as a deist. He believed in the existence of a God who created the universe, but he rejected the rules, dogmas, and fanaticism of the church. In his view, God was the intelligent force behind an orderly universe, not a being who interfered in daily life through miracles or clerical authority. Voltaire criticized religion not for its beliefs, but for the injustice and cruelty carried out in its name. He saw how people suffered because of religious fanaticism and openly exposed it. That's why his famous motto was "Écrasez l'infâme," crush the infamous thing. He also said, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. This perfectly reflects his stance. God's existence provides morality and order for humanity, but the church and religious institutions must be criticized when they abuse power. In short, Voltaire believed in God while simultaneously denouncing the cruelty and irrationality of religious institutions. Fact 5. He loved science and mathematics. Voltaire had a great passion for science and mathematics. He especially admired the discoveries of Isaac Newton and played a key role in spreading Newton's theories in France. He even collaborated with his lover, Émile de Châtelet, to translate Newton's works into French. He valued scientific research over religious distortions, believing that the laws of the universe should be studied through reason. For Voltaire, science was a crucial tool for understanding the world and building a just society. He also considered mathematics and natural sciences essential for education and critical thinking, constantly encouraging people to acquire knowledge through reason and observation. Fact 6. He was imprisoned in his youth. As a young man in his early 20s, Voltaire was imprisoned in the Bastille in Paris for writing satirical poems, criticizing the king and the aristocracy. He was only 24 years old at the time and spent about 11 months in prison. This period became both a trial and a lesson in his life. During his imprisonment, Voltaire developed his creative skills and began writing his first plays. The experience taught him that freedom of speech and criticism could be both dangerous and a powerful weapon. His time in the Bastille sharpened his resolve against political and religious oppression. After his release, Voltaire was exiled to England, where he became deeply familiar with free thought, science, and critical reasoning. These early struggles played a key role in shaping him into one of the most famous philosophical writers in Europe. Fact 7. He lived in exile in England. In 1726, due to political conflicts and personal problems in France, Voltaire was exiled to England. There he became deeply familiar with free thought, scientific progress, and liberal politics. He studied the works of Newton and developed a strong interest in the laws of science and nature. Voltaire also observed the parliamentary system and freedom of speech in England, which were in stark contrast to the absolute monarchy in France. These experiences inspired his future writings, especially his satirical novels and philosophical works. His years in England showed him that free thought and criticism are among the most important forces for advancing society. This period of exile profoundly shaped his worldview and philosophical perspective. Fact 8. Voltaire was incredibly productive. Throughout his life, Voltaire was an incredibly productive writer. He created over 2,000 works, including novels, plays, philosophical treatises, poems, historical writings, and thousands of letters. Many historians even call him Europe's most prolific writer. He wrote on nearly every topic imaginable: religion, science, politics, literature, human rights, and freedom. For Voltaire, writing was both a form of creativity and a fight for social justice. Through his pen, satire and criticism spread, promoting freedom of speech and thought. Voltaire was diligent and disciplined from youth until his final years, writing for hours every day and pouring his thoughts onto paper. This extraordinary productivity earned him eternal fame as a great philosopher and public intellectual in Europe. Fact 9. He was recognized by the government. In the later years of his life, Voltaire was respected by the French government and elite circles. He was admitted to the French Academy and received recognition from King Louis XV. This is particularly remarkable considering that in his youth, he had harshly criticized both the church and the monarchy and had even spent time in prison. This recognition showed that Voltaire was valued not only as a writer and philosopher, but also as a public figure and a symbol of free thought. Government circles appreciated his intelligence, critical perspective, and insight into political matters. Voltaire's works and ideas had a wide influence among the public as well as the aristocracy and political authorities. This respect gave him greater authority and influence, ultimately securing his place as one of Europe's most important intellectuals in history. Fact 10. Death and legacy. Voltaire passed away on May 30th, 1778, in Paris at the age of 83. After his death, the Catholic Church initially refused to allow him to be buried on sacred ground due to his long-standing religious and political criticisms. Years later, his remains were transferred to the Pantheon in Paris, where he is honored as one of Europe's greatest philosophers. Voltaire's life and works, especially his fight for free thought, science, and human rights, continue to inspire people today. His writings, letters, satirical novels, and philosophical treatises remain a symbol of free thought, freedom of speech, and critical reasoning. Voltaire influenced not only his contemporaries but also future generations, leaving a profound impact on the world of ideas. Voltaire's life shows us that free thought, freedom of speech, and science can never be silenced. His ideas continue to inspire us today. If you want to discover more stories and fascinating historical facts, subscribe to our channel Like this video and turn on notifications to stay updated with the next stories.